Jessica Williams lives in Victoria on the lands of the Bunurong and Wadawurrung people. She is an author, researcher, lobbyist, and activist. Jess is the director of Single Sex Prisons Australia and the International Network for Incarcerated Girls and Women. She staunchly defends the rights of all women with a focus on advocacy for women prisoners. Well, welcome aboard. Over to Jessica Williams. Jess.
Thank you, Janet, and thank you, Anna. I know you're back there somewhere, and maybe she's already gone, I don't know, but thank you, Anna. Hello, everyone. I'm glad to be here presenting tonight for the WDI Australia and New Zealand webinar. I was only able to put together a few slides for tonight, so I do apologise for the lack of the slides. I will spend some time at the end of my presentation, as it was said earlier, discussing our Women Will Speak demonstration in Melbourne, organised by Women's Action Group. But first, I was asked to discuss a man named Wayne Gregory Astill, who was found guilty in 2023 of 27 charges, which included counts of aggravated sexual assault and indecent assault, committed against women prisoners during his employment at the Dilweenia Correctional Centre in New South Wales. He was sentenced to a maximum of 27 years. The minimum he has to serve is 15 years and 4 months. These offences were made known to multiple people within the chain of command. Those complaints and concerns were suppressed. A special commission of inquiry was announced in mid-2023 by the state's corrections minister, who said he was shocked and absolutely appalled after Astill's conviction. And he ordered the review to be led by former Judge Peter McClellan. The special commission of inquiry concluded with the delivery of the final report, which came down on the 29th of February this year. The final report is 806 pages long. Please forgive me for not having been able to read all of it before I presented this evening. I would like to recite some key points from the executive summary. Before joining Corrective Services New South Wales in October 1999, Wayne Astill was a serving police officer and for a time was a detective. As his police personnel file reveals, he should never have been employed by Corrective Services New South Wales. His file contained complaints of serious criminal and other misconduct, which, apart from raising questions as to why he was not prosecuted, cast doubt on the integrity of Corrective Services New South Wales employment process. Whether corruption or incompetence was responsible for his acceptance, I cannot say. It has led to tragic consequences for both prisoners and prison officers. After serving for a time at Parklea Correctional Centre, Astill was transferred to the Dilweenia Correctional Centre, an all-female facility. He was there from February 2009 until his arrest on February 20th, 2019. When at Dilweenia, he served as a senior correctional officer and at times acted as chief correctional officer. Astill's offending took place over a period of almost 5 years. He has been convicted of offending against 14 inmates, and there may be others. It is impossible to believe that, given the acknowledgement by some correctional officers that rumors were abundant, that a majority of correctional officers and a great many inmates would not have been aware that Astill may be up to no good. Instead of investigating the rumors, the management of the jail sought to suppress them at multiple levels. In many cases, the available evidence was more than rumors. A small number of correctional officers were prominent in attempting to have management address the problems, but without success. Failure by some senior staff members and management to competently and respectfully deal with the complaints made by officers and inmates alike resulted in many staff concluding that reporting was pointless. Inmates rightfully understood that they would not be believed by those in management when making a report of serious misconduct by an officer and feared the consequences of doing so. Astill was a domineering personality in the jail, making it difficult for both inmates and officers to complain about his behavior. They feared retribution. This is not to say that some complaints originating from inside the jail did not find their way to the appropriate unit internal to Corrective Services New South Wales, but outside of the jail. Some did. However, the system for their management was not fit for purpose, and so it seems the resources given to the investigations branch were totally inadequate. Only one word is appropriate to describe the situation in the investigations branch: hopeless. It seems for a period, no intelligence report that had been referred to IB was processed at all. In all, 6 intelligence reports were sent from Dilwenia to the investigations branch prior to Astill's arrest. However, no investigation or referral was initiated. This is only 4 paragraphs of a 7-page executive summary, and already the extent of the failures of women prisoners is clear on numerous levels, and it just gets worse. On October 2023, an article from Tasman Rose with The Guardian highlighted findings from the inquiry, which revealed that the area in which Astill worked in the women's prison was lacking 500 security cameras. Manager of Technical Security at Corrective Services New South Wales, Fergal Malloy, apologies if I got that pronunciation incorrect, told the inquiry that there were almost 1,000 cameras across the Dilwenia Centre, but the vast majority were in a newly built section. The older area of the jail, where Astill worked and offended, had only 195 cameras, which was significantly below what was required, which would have been around 400 to 500. When asked why security cameras had not been operating inside the offices of prison staff, including that of Astill, he said there should have been. Anywhere we have inmates, we should have cameras, Malloy said. He said CCTV cameras were the best management tool within corrections facilities for their role in understanding what was going on within a centre. When asked if the funding available at the moment was enough to make the upgrades required across the state, he said, not at present, no. This is one prison. There are approximately 24 women's prisons or prisons with women's wings in Australia. So how many imprisoned women are being raped and assaulted that we do not know about? How many instances are known but are being ignored or covered up? How many male prison officers are taking advantage of their position of authority to further torment and traumatize the most vulnerable Australian women? How many instances of harm are occurring to imprisoned women in Australia? Mothers, victims of male sexual and physical abuse, survivors of extreme trauma. Of course, this is just the tip of the iceberg. New South Wales, Victoria, Western Australia, each state and territory seems to have its own dark history or patterns of neglect and abuse stemming from police and prison staff. In 2022, a landmark class action lawsuit was filed with the Supreme Court in New South Wales, alleging police unlawfully strip searched people, including children, some as young as 10 years old. New South Wales Police committed a series of unlawful acts, such as assault and battery, during those searches over a 6-year period from 2018 at the Splendour in the Grass Festival. The plaintiffs alleged some people, again, including children without the support of a parent or guardian, were told to lift or move their genitals, strip naked, and squat and cough during searches. Women were ordered to remove sanitary products so they could be inspected. This lawsuit only came after a mountain of evidence about the misuse of strip searches by police, stemming from police watchdog investigations, coroner's reports, and internal police documents, had failed to convince lawmakers to push for legislative change. In 2019, New South Wales police officers illegally strip searched at least 25 children at the Sydney-based Lost City Music Festival, which was for teens aged 13 to 17. In one case, a child known as GEN15C told New South Wales Law Enforcement Conduct Commission that he was strip searched by an officer who was not wearing gloves. He said the officer touched his testicles and rubbed his buttocks during the search. It is further alleged that after doing so, the officer moved around behind the boy, placed both hands inside his shorts, and ran his hands around his buttocks in a circular motion in an effort to find drugs. No drugs were found. In Tasmania, the Human Rights Law Centre obtained documents under right to information requests, which revealed that 841 strip searches of women in Tasmanian prisons took place in a 7-month period, with only 3 filling the search with concealed items turning up. The concealed items were pain medication, tobacco and a lighter, and tobacco and matchsticks. The Human Rights Law Centre says Tasmanian prison searches are conducted too frequently and not in line with international standards. Freedom of Information responses revealed that New South Wales Corrections does not record strip searches of women prisoners. The Human Rights Law Centre submitted a Freedom of Information request to Corrective Services New South Wales for the records of strip searches on women in prison between October 2020 and April 2021. In response, the agency said there are no registers or logbooks where the searches are recorded. Released in late 2020, the New South Wales Inspector of Custodial Services report into the Mary Wade Correctional Centre for Women found strip searches are rife at the centre, and the practice takes place when leaving the centre, after contact and non-contact visits, as well as at times when women have not gone anywhere or been visited. Strip searches are only recorded if something is found. And despite this being a routine practice, over 12 months ending in October 2019, no contraband had been found. So there's no record of how many women were subjected to a search for no reason other than possibly degrading them. To give everyone some sense of how many strip searches might be occurring within prisons across Australia, a 2019 report into strip searching practices into Western Australian facilities revealed that almost 900,000 strip searches were conducted on prisoners over 5 years, with only 571 contraband items found, none of which were drug or weapons related. In 2017, the Office of then Ombudsman Deborah Glass conducted an independent inspection of the Dame Phyllis Frost Centre in Victoria over 7 days. Ms. Glass said the inspection had uncovered some serious issues. She said they were particularly concerned about the routine practice of strip searching the women before and after contact visits. Ms. Glass was disappointed the Victorian Department of Justice and Regulation had not accepted her recommendation to stop the practice and instead undertake targeted strip searching when justified by intelligence or risk, which would be extremely rare. She said her office was also concerned about the high incidence of force and restraint being used at the prison, including reports of pregnant women being handcuffed when attending external medical appointments. It is crucial to understand and remember
It's okay, Jess. It's all right. It is absolutely grueling, terrible stuff. Take your time.
It is crucial to understand and remember that strip searches are experienced as sexual assault by imprisoned women, many of whom are survivors of male sexual violence and/or child molestation. The compounding trauma inflicted upon imprisoned women via strip searches and body cavity searches is lifelong. I would imagine that children also experience strip searches as a form of sexual assault, potentially one their growing brains cannot fully comprehend. In Western Australia, police casually lost 6 years' worth of sexual assault reports that were sent to an address set up to receive correspondence from sexual assault victims. This information was also revealed under Freedom of Information request. In July last year, it was revealed that anyone who attempted to report a sexual crime between February 2016 and March 2018 via an email listed on the WA Police website were sending highly sensitive reports to a ghost address not monitored by police. WA Today discovered archived web pages that suggested the email was unmonitored for at least 2 years. But until recently, WA Police had ignored repeated questions about the true length of time the administration error was in place. An internal memo obtained under FOI by WA Today revealed the address promoted to victims of sexual assault stopped receiving emails as far back as August 2012. This is just a snapshot of instances of neglect and failure to meet even the most basic human rights standards for women, especially for imprisoned women. Human rights standards for the separation of prisoners state clearly that men and women are to always be housed separately. There are further standards in the Geneva Conventions that women should have same-sex supervision. It is also very important to know that the 7 core United Nations treaties that Australia uses to form the basis for human rights standards do not have a single trace of gender identity ideology within them. The human rights standards set by the United Nations, which are accepted to my knowledge by every nation in the world but one, are not being met by any state or territory in Australia via prison policies, yet there are no politicians that seem as angry as they should be about it. This is being put in the too hard basket by far too many people, especially those that have authority or decision-making power or that have influence over people that do. I am incredibly sick and tired of vulnerable women in prison being pushed aside. There should be no men in women's prisons, including prison officers. This ends the first portion of my presentation. I do have links to everything that I referred to, and I'll put those in the chat at the end, so that women can look further into that information if they'd like to, because I do know I've shared some heavy information here. So yeah, I'll share all that in a moment. So as many of you do know, we had Women's Action Group held our Speakers Corner demonstration in Melbourne today. Michelle is our amazing MC. She was hoping to make it tonight, she will, and one of the co-founders. And I helped organize the demonstrations and am the head marshal and lead the marshal team, our wonderful marshal team. I'll spend the last few minutes just kind of going through how it was today from my perspective. We did have hostile detractors. They promoted the event online and did, in my views, try to incite people to come along and drown us out with noise and oppose us. And they did come out. We liaised with police consistently leading up to the event and you know, shared any risks or threats that we thought that there might be. From our point of view, the police response today was satisfactory. They did a very good job from our point of view at keeping separation between the groups and allowing everyone that stayed within the boundaries of the law to gather, as is our right to do so. Even if we don't agree with the people that are there, it is our right to gather and demonstrate publicly. And from our point of view, the police did a good job at allowing people to do that as long as we stayed within the bounds of the law. There were, from my count, approximately 100 police officers on site. And I didn't do a loose count of our attendees, but I would say we had at least a solid 50, and there possibly might have been more. There have been a couple of arrests reported, 2 or 3, and none of which, to my knowledge, were any of the people that attended to support the Speakers Corner demonstration. And overall, we had a safe and successful event. So from my point of view, that's what we go to do. And we had some good speakers. Yeah, it was hectic and loud. But yeah, again, from my point of view, the women and attendees were safe and the speakers got to speak. So yeah, that's me. Thank you.
Thank you for that little update there. And thank you for your gutting and enraging work on prisons. Thank you for taking that on at the last minute for me. I really appreciate it. It just really goes to show that we shouldn't have men in women's prisons. Like, when that's what happens with someone who's supposed to be in authority and supposed to be cleared and safe to be around women, but we're also putting convicted rapists in the cells with women. I'm staggered. So thank you so much to our speakers, Gina.